Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on WhoKnewPodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at WhoKnewPodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at WhoKnewPodcast, and find us on Facebook. Today's episode is episode 13 of Season 5, The Big Bang. When the universe crashes, perhaps it's time to reboot. Control, Alt, Delete, Delete, Delete. This episode is written by Stephen Moffat, directed by Toby Haynes. It originally aired on the 26th of June, 2010, and was watched by 6.69 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Frank.
Hello, this is Kelsey.
Hello, this is Auburn.
This is Josh.
This is Brian.
The universe is ending, collapsing into the epicenter of the Tardis exploding near Earth. 7-year-old Amelia Pond prays to Santa to help her with a crack in her wall, but no one comes to help. She draws a picture of a starry night sky, and her Aunt Sharon and the therapist try to convince her that stars are just made-up stories. They've never existed in real life. A brochure is slipped into Amelia's mail slot, advertising a museum exhibition that includes the Pandorica. She forces her aunt to take her, where she sees petrified Daleks as part of the exhibit before coming across the Pandorica itself. Someone snatches her drink, and she reads a note left on the box telling her to stick around. She hides in the museum until after it closes, and then touches the Pandorica, which quickly unlocks. Inside is... Amy Pond?
What? That was a terrific opening.
That was such a shocker. That.
I remember seeing it originally and being extremely shocked and confused.
It was great. It was just, wow, it was such a, what the...
And all of the sneaking around of the Doctor, and you could tell it was the Doctor. Although, when you see him in the door window, you see the fez, and that wasn't a thing yet.
Right.
But it was just all the timey-wimey stuff of like the notes and things like that, and how it pays off later on. It's so great.
Did you also notice right before the drink gets snatched, the Doctor is right on her left?
Oh no.
Behind her.
Oh, I just remember seeing his sleeve.
Yeah, you can see him in the coat. It's really fast.
Yeah, I didn't recognize the Doctor in any of this opening.
And this is where it gets complicated.
Well, I really liked the way it opened and coming full circle to the way that this whole season opened. Bookends, you know, with Amy Pond praying, but twist, the Doctor doesn't come because the Doctor's in the Pandorica. So we think.
I found myself getting very sad that nobody was there to help her with the crack because the Doctor wasn't crashing into the backyard.
Is that the same moment as originally with the crack? And
yes.
And then she hears the TARDIS.
But instead she hears the wind blowing this time.
Oh, okay.
But she still hears voices. And that's important, I think, later on.
Did they film that twice when they shot the pilot? When they shot episode 1?
No, they recreated it.
They recreated it
for
this
Big Bang.
season. Oh, okay. She did look a little older.
But not very much. And it was also kind of good because when she was next to Karen Gillan, I mean, I know they're cousins, but you really did look at it and go, yeah, that could be you.
I didn't know they were cousins.
Yeah,
the actresses.
We mentioned that in the 11th hour.
That was
I don't
13
remember.
episodes ago.
Yeah,
Well, I'm with you, Josh. Oh!
So this is where it gets complicated.
It's like, a world without any astrology. You can imagine how awesome that would be.
Why? Well, what bothered me about it was why would even stars be a concept if they've never existed? Like
Because she
Unicorns.
But so
Unicorns have that's a concept.
yeah, but
The
universe
one family
leaves
member,
the universe leaves hints.
right, okay.
would they have just disappeared in like 102, 109? Or it was from the beginning of time too?
But the stars...
No, 102 AD.
102 AD. But
1,894 years later.
before this.
Right.
Modern
So it was
day.
in like the 1st or the 2nd century.
Yeah,
that the
they
stars
could have had stars
disappeared.
then, probably.
Because the stars are taken out, but their effect is still on the human consciousness. Just like, Rory's taken out, but some of the stuff he did in the engagement ring is still there. So people maybe had drawn stars on caves and things like that, and that could have started the whole star cult with Richard Dawkins.
Well, there is a line. It's a throwaway. I don't know if it's Aunt Sharon or the therapist, but they say something about the crazy star cult.
Yeah, that's exactly what he mentioned.
Yeah.
It's
With
Aunt
Richard.
Sharon
Yeah, because Richard Dawkins is a real person.
Dawkins.
Yeah, Richard Dawson is a real person.
That's true,
as well.
too, but he's dead. Richard Dawkins has actually been on Doctor Who.
Oh.
He was on Stolen Earth, where it was like,
Oh, right.
no, the sky has not changed. The Earth has physically moved.
Oh, right.
And he's a controversial figure because he's a militant atheist, so people don't like him. So I love where it's like he's running the star cults in this world.
I am a little confused and surprised as to how this world with Amelia, young Amelia that we're looking at, exists if all existence was wiped out. I mean, I kind of get...
They're at the epicenter. It's shrinking.
It's like the eye of a hurricane.
Yep.
Like it's calm there.
Oh, because that's where the TARDIS exploded.
Yep. That doesn't even have the sun anymore. The TARDIS exploding is heating the planet.
Right.
In 102 AD, Roman Rory is holding a dead Amy in his arms when the Doctor pops in wearing a fez and holding a mop. He gives Rory instructions to use the Sonic on the Pandorica to free him, and then to leave the Sonic in Amy's pocket. Using a vortex manipulator on his wrist, he pops out again. Rory opens the Pandorica, which is surrounded by fossilized Daleks and other aliens, and releases the Doctor. They place Amy inside the Pandorica, and the Doctor leaves her a psychic message so she can understand what's going on. The Pandorica will force her to stay alive until it can get a scan of her living DNA. Then it can resuscitate her. Rory decides to guard the box for the 2,000 years it will take for Amelia to be born. The Doctor takes a shortcut through time by using River's vortex manipulator.
I love how the same thing he did with the girlfriend in the Man Alive.
The Lodger.
Yeah, the same as he did with the girlfriend in the Lodger, how he tricked her into saying what she really felt, how he tricked Rory into proving that he's Rory and not a robot.
Your girlfriend is not important. She is to me. And the look on his face when he's adjusting his jaw. He's adjusting his jaw. He's like, "Oh, all right, hello, Rory Williams," because he had to make sure he wasn't just an auton.
Oh, okay, yes. But when I was watching it, I was taking it as he knows, and he's just getting Rory to believe it.
Yeah, I agree.
But,
It's
both.
Yeah.
It's both.
I like the exchange between Rory and the Doctor about him staying behind and guarding the box. Rory says, "This box needs a guard. I killed the last one." The Doctor replies, "No, Rory, no. Don't even think about it." Rory, "She'll be all alone." The Doctor, "She won't feel it." Rory, "Yeah, you bet she won't." I like that. I don't know, it's just the way that that's written is nice. And then he just stays there.
And how it continues with, "She'd be safer if I'm here. Tell me she wouldn't be safer."
Right,
So-
right.
And then the Doctor goes on and tells him, "You're plastic, so don't do this, don't do that." And then boom, he's out. And it's like, what did he mean
Yeah.
to say?
Well, we find out.
No, I know.
Yeah.
But at that moment, you're like, what?
Did we find out?
Yes.
You'll see.
Yes. And then he puts on the helmet, like he's owning this lone centurion, and he
Right.
just sits there with the sword across his lap, and I don't know, that image just is great.
And what the Doctor said when he was leaving was, "For God's sake, keep out of," and that's where the breaks. So
Yeah, we'll pick that up.
just remember that phrasing.
Yeah.
We'll come
Okay.
back to it. But I thought the Pandorica was supposed to be some huge, great prison that holds the most feared thing in all the universe, and boy, is it easy to get into.
I know.
And
Well,
let
that's
the
the thing.
thing
It's
out.
easy to get into.
Yeah, but you can let it out. Anybody can
Yeah,
just
that's
seem
true.
to
Like
let
you
it
want
out.
someone to escape, help someone escape.
Well, somebody with Time Lord technology or Dalek technology can. I mean, I think he's serious when he's saying, if no one guards here, nobody can get in. No human will be able to get into this. But we have technology
That's
that
right.
can open it right
Yeah, no
away.
human.
He's just like, will it be safer?
I do
No
love
human did, I guess,
this,
technically.
this is one of, I think, Matt Smith's best reads when he says, "Oh, that Sonic is the same Sonic, just further along in the timeline is from my future. I've got a future, that's guys." And it's a nice thing where it's like, oh, I'm going to turn out okay.
Time travel, I like, but this is the problem with it for me, is the whole causality related. It's like, which came first? Rory having the Sonic or the Doctor getting out?
That's what I love about it.
That's
the
what I
whole
hate about it.
creation
I
of
love it.
paradoxes. All that stuff in the beginning, I was sort of waiting to talk about it till it comes back later when we see how he did it, like him popping
Okay.
in and out and stuff. Love all that. That's the paradoxal equation of time travel. The same thing happened in Endgame with Captain America. I won't spoil it, but that's what's happening. I was arguing with someone about that the other day. It's
And
just-
Terminator 2.
That's
Or
exactly
Terminator 1.
right.
Yeah. Well, all of it.
Terminator
Because
as well. I
it's
think you
like-
meant to say.
John
Teaches
teaches
Kyle.
Sarah.
No, Kyle.
Yes, John teaches Kyle. Kyle teaches Sarah. Sarah teaches John. Where did the information come from? I love it. I love that kind
And
of
then
stuff.
there's that movie with Ethan Hawke, Predestination.
Yeah. And then there's also the original Planet of the Apes franchise has a paradoxical loop in it as well.
Paradox loop there.
So in the original Planet of the Apes, apes are talking and they're intelligent in the future, and then in Escape the Planet of the Apes, they time travel back to the then present 70s,
Zero and Cornelius.
and then they have a kid. These two apes, intelligent apes, have a kid,
And
and then
that's Caesar.
and then they hide Caesar with Ricardo Montalban
Oh.
in the circus, and then so that's where the apes start to learn from Caesar.
Yeah.
So that's the paradox.
The end of the episode, the end of the movie, isn't it? Him going, "Mama, mama,
Stop
mama."
making me
Yeah.
cry.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Oh, it's so sad. You don't. Oh, no. Okay. Change the subject.
But for the doctor, I think he would only do it in this case where all of creation is at
Yeah.
risk.
I mean, it is a fun episode, and it's done with fun.
Well, it's-
so
yeah.
I can forgive it, but it's one of those that they didn't have a start. It's like some of the other ones that they did later on. Okay, I got to do this because I did do this. I understand that, and he.
I will
goes through
say,
it.
I find one thing I loved about this episode is it uses almost every part of time travel because it does what you just talked about. It does what you were saying about bipping around and doing all those Back to the Future 2 things, and then it's the whole lengthy thing, and then the thing with River at the end, and
Right.
so it's basically
A smorgasbord of time travel.
yeah, which a lot of the episodes don't. A lot of the episodes just focus on one aspect, and the whole episode's about that. That's why I found this episode to be a lot of fun.
Since we're on this, I guess, compliment sandwich on the negative side, I found it
Sandwich.
very easy to get Amy from a cliffhanger of her being shot by Rory to the doctor going, "She's mostly dead. Put her in the Pandorica."
Yeah.
I was like, that's really convenient.
Yeah,
Oh, I loved it.
but
But she is dead.
yeah, but the whole yes and yes. But because then they introduced the Pandorica and that when we need her future DNA, then it all just sort of
Right.
like because they just introduced and this is one of the best episodes that they introduced the fantastical, like when you know suspending your disbelief, like just enough of the magic principle, like the Pandorica and its energy. They didn't do it too much. I felt like it was
Yes.
consistent.
And I think I'm looking at this more critically because of what we discussed in Time of Angels, where new information is given to us about the Weeping Angels, and we kind of didn't like that. Where here, it's more palatable that this mysterious box has more properties than just a prison.
That I think it's because we didn't know anything about the Pandorica beforehand. They already established the Weeping Angel situation, and then they were like, oh yeah, and then there's this, because we want to do it. Whereas the Pandorica's been a mystery all along.
And the angels really changed the nature of
Yeah.
Who they
the
are.
The
angels.
thing that
Where-
frightened us about the
Yeah.
angels inherently was changed.
where at least the Pandorica, the regeneration field fits into its story of what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does fit in with the end of the episode, so it's not inconsistent.
Right.
Where with what you
With
were
the-
mentioning with the angels
Yeah.
mythology, it is inconsistent.
Just
Challenge.
the way that we understand death has changed. You know, what does it mean when someone dies? Because now we have, are they brain dead? Can we keep them on
Right.
life support?
Yeah,
We're doing
so
other
who-
things, and it goes back to
Right.
Star Trek, where they have more science and more ideas now of how long the person can be dead before they could possibly revive
Right.
them. And people say 2 minutes that they were dead.
Right.
So being a Time Lord, that time can definitely be exponentially longer that they can affect somebody.
That's how I
depending
took
on
it.
how they die.
Like if he used another sci-fi word rather than mostly,
Right.
we would have been like, oh, okay.
And if they can do it in Princess Bride, they can do it in
Yeah.
Doctor Who.
Is that what they say? Is that the terminology?
He's only
they use?
Mostly
Mostly
dead,
dead.
which is slightly alive. Too brave.
Too brave.
I like when the doctor was holding Amy's head and going, I'm leaving a message for her.
Right.
So maybe
The
think
Vulcan
of
mind meld.
Girl in the Fireplace where he's,
With Renette.
yes, when he's merging with her, but she's reading part of his brain as well. So it's like we've had that established. The Doctor can do that.
And even just a few episodes ago.
With the
With the head
lodger,
button.
What was his character's name?
Craig.
Craig Owens.
Craig.
I always laugh because Amelia has an American-sized soda.
Yes.
It's like that's the biggest thing. It's
That's a
like,
small.
wow.
For a little girl, that's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, and the first couple times I watched this, it was like, why did they give up searching for Amelia?
I know.
In the museum, and it's like because they fell through the crack. Aunt
That's what I'm
Sharon's
thinking.
gone.
Yeah, she's gone.
She's gone. I mean, they do say the museum's closing and your aunt is waiting for you, but then I think that they're gone.
And in that scene, I thought it was interesting that the museum's closed, and Amelia's walking towards Pandorica, and she's looking, and she's hearing all these animal sounds.
And
So-
jungle noises.
Yeah, so it's like all those things are shut down. The museum's closed, so they're all playing, I think, in her mind.
Yeah.
Just adding to the feel of it all, her imagination. At first, I didn't like it. Going, why is she hearing animal noises?
I think the director, Toby Haynes, added those in. I think he mentioned that on the commentary.
Yeah, it definitely felt like in the mind of Amelia, like her psyche at this point was being scared, even though in reality there wasn't all the animal sounds.
And I think subconsciously it plays into how much power Amelia's memory and mind has, because then it goes into what's happening at the end of this episode.
I do kind of wish that they had just kind of called out a little bit more clearly that Rory is more than an auton because of Amy's memory of Rory. And I don't know how they could have done it. And they do have the scene where the Doctor is taunting him, kind of testing him. So, because all the other things were just autons. But Rory is special because of Amy's connection to Rory from the psychic memory from her house. I kind of wish that just kind of, if you could have just tied that up in a nice little bow and a little clearer.
They do say it.
They
but
do
just don't
say
put a
it.
button on it. They don't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
emphasize it.
But I mean, I don't like it, but it's kind of the style of the show, and maybe if they did put more buttons on things, we would find it forced.
Well, I think Russell would have it more highlighted, and just Moffat's way of having the show
Right.
done is
Yeah.
done a little more subtle.
It still bugs me to
So it's
think
still
though
there,
that
but-
he's like even into the future, he's still this plasticine entity. But I can't quite remember where the show goes with him, so I'll leave it at that.
I think that with the difference between Russell and Moffat is Russell kind of earns those moments of, no, the audience is intelligent enough, I don't have to spell it out for them. Moffat's constantly doing that, and it gets kind of tiring after a while, where it is just like, wait, you want us to keep up, I can't keep up anymore.
Yeah, and with Moffat shows, there's like 12 things going on at the same time.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the reason why I never remember what's happening.
One thing I thought about when we were in the first paragraph that goes to, I think, Frank, what you were just talking about, is that Rory is still there, where all the other aliens turned into like dust or
Fossilized.
statues. Yeah, like I assume all the rest of the Romans also turned
Well,
into
that's because
statues.
it was also from the explosion. Like it when the Pandorica exploded, it killed them, but Rory wasn't.
But it
Pandorica
took
didn't
them
explode.
out of existence. It took their races out of existence. I think that's why they turned into statues, because they like Daleks never existed.
But they're an
But that-
afterimage because they were near the Pandorica.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what did
Right.
the Doctor call them? Echoes?
Right. Yeah. And then why was Rory left? Because he was living at the moment.
Because Amy had remembered him.
Yeah.
And
She
Amy-
also remembered Daleks and stuff. It was just a
But
strong
she had
connection.
but she was focusing on Rory.
Right. Gotcha.
So they could have said, like, the Doctor could have even have said, like, why aren't you fossil? Maybe because of Amy's. Like, that could have been the line.
Yeah, that could have been.
But
what
he
would've-
did hold her and say it's because of your memory
Yes.
that all this is going on. It's
Yeah.
how important that
It
is.
would've
So he
been
does
maybe
say
too
it, but
much.
it's just, again, in that monotone kind of
Well, it's also
voice.
that's what makes these shows so great to rewatch, because you're
Yeah.
constantly picking up new
You're
things.
constantly going,
Oh. Sort of like the episode of The Lodge, like we were talking about, that Matt Smith's comedy chops really shine in this episode. Like he's really come into being the Doctor in through towards the last few episodes, but this episode's really he plays so many different facets of it. There's one kind of drama, and then there's the goofiness of him popping in and out, but then there's also those moments like when we see back in
Flesh and Stone?
Flesh and Stone, when he pops back into that episode, talking to Amy and all the different things, is really a rich performance on many levels, and you don't feel like he's putting any of it on.
I like the Bill and Ted-ness of
Yes.
this, where it's like, I need to do that, and then I'll do that, and then it'll pay off immediately when I go back. And when that is happening with the vortex manipulator, young Amelia goes, "How is he doing that? Is he magic?" I don't know. I like that
Yeah.
little. That's of course that's what a little girl would think because she doesn't know about science and things.
I wish that Amy would have said, no, he's better. He's smart.
Yes.
But then again, that goes to the magic quality of Amy's memories coming back. It's like this magic man. This, you know.
But yeah, agreed.
Amy and Amelia watch a video about the history of the box and the centurion who protected it. He was last seen during the London Blitz in 1941. Suddenly, the doctor pops in, right by Amy and Amelia. Nearby, a fossilized Dalek that is sitting in the light emitted from the Pandorica slowly reactivates. Before it can destroy the doctor and Amy's, a security guard enters the room. It's Rory! He opens his plastic hand and shoots the Dalek, slowing it down enough for them to all get away. Amelia says she's thirsty, and Rory realizes that this is how the doctor looked when he gave Rory the Sonic centuries ago. So, pop, the doctor goes back to fulfill his past actions. He delivers the brochure to Amelia's house and grabs her drink at the museum to give to present Amelia. Check, check, and check. But then a severely wounded doctor from 12 minutes in the future pops in. He whispers something to his younger self and slumps to the ground, dead. Amelia disappears, removed from the universe, which reminds them that time is running out. The Dalek bathes in the lights of the Pandorica to restore itself.
Now here's where we find out the answer to the question of what the doctor said to Rory. And it's one of Moffat's kind of double lines that he always does. So the doctor pops in next to Amy and Amelia.
Well, but say what you do the starting bit. He says to Rory, so for God's sake, stay out of.
Keep out of blank. And then right when he's popping in, Amy asks, when she sees the Dalek, what is that? And the doctor pops in and says, trouble. So he's answering Rory and answering Amy at the same time.
So
that's great.
yeah, so keep out of trouble is what he was saying.
Oh, that's
But
great.
what's that? Trouble.
So this is what I was.
I mean, that took us a long time to catch.
Oh, yeah.
But did not catch
It's
that.
great.
I didn't
Because it's
catch
going
that.
by so quickly, but then, again, captions.
I loved seeing this sequence again in this section of the show and seeing how the doctor's energy was the reason for his energy being so like amped up and talking to Rory, because having it fit in with the pace of this part of the episode and hopping back into that old pace, and how they abridged that the footage, how they reused it but abridged it and stuff like
Seen
that.
from both sides.
Yeah, you would have thought like, oh, this is just gonna drag because we're gonna see this all again. But the way they did it really fit in with the pace of what was happening.
Because it's not a one for one. It's a little shorter in some
Right.
instances.
Yeah, it was
great.
edited and
Yeah.
paced well.
And
I
just
agree.
and like I said, Matt Smith, he was in the moment. He was in the moment of there and so good.
And I'm not suggesting that it is as good, but it reminds me of Blink.
Yes,
It's like
it's that- yes.
we're going through half a conversation, and now we're seeing the other half,
Right.
and it all just fits right in.
Yeah, it's like that moment when they were watching the television in Blink.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I just really like that Rory's back.
Me too.
I mean, like, he's such.
And so Rory.
I don't know how many episodes it's been that he's not, like, he's been dead. I don't know how many episodes he's been erased from time or whatever, erased from existence. But, like, he's so helpful. He's like, oh, you were wearing that when you gave me.
Right.
When you gave me, you got, it's like.
I can't
don't know,
remember this
it's-
morning. He remembers
Yeah.
2,000 years ago.
I know.
Also, Frank noticed something last night. The marketing materials that are hanging on the walls call the Pandorica an anomaly. So this is the anomaly. Come see the anomaly. And the doctor is saying, right, I mean, literally as he's passing a poster that has a picture of the Pandorica and says anomaly underneath it, he's saying, we are all the anomaly. We're all, we're still here because we're an anomaly. We're in the eye of the storm. So it's like even people who had nothing to do with the story, the marketing people of the Pandora, I mean, even they're kind of picking up on things aren't right. Something's going on, but they just never know why.
So this brings me to another compliment sandwich. In that when Amy is looking at the video of the museum video of the lone centurion, I love that sequence.
Yeah.
Me too.
Every time I watch it.
I want to see
I got choked up. I got
Yeah.
choked up a number of times in this episode.
and I want to see an entire history documentary of what happened to the Pandorica. It's like
Yeah.
Frank stole it. I'm sorry, the Franks stole it. Then it went to the Knights Templar,
Right.
and then it went to the Vatican. And the whole time it's just kind of like Rory's just tagging along.
Yeah, and I like that the lone centurion, is always with the Pandorica.
Yeah.
And then that last moment of the blitz and him pulling it out, and then eyewitnesses saying that they saw it. And then on this rewatch, I go, that's only 1941.
He's been wearing that outfit.
Well, not
Why
that.
didn't he think to wear another outfit before that?
Not only that, but they go, it's uncertain if the lone centurion actually existed because they haven't seen him since. And in my mind, I go, well, that's in cave paintings or historical documents or scrolls that he's always been with the Pandorica. But then now I explain it that the crack is slowly getting other people, and so it's taking those memories away from people too. So,
Right.
I mean, I get
Crack
that
will do that to you.
because it's whack.
It is.
But I also like the reveal that now when Rory comes back, he's still there. He's always been there. He just ditched the Centurion costume.
Right.
And the way the Dalek comes in and it scans, at first it's looking at the Doctor and the two Amys, and then it goes to the security guard. And then the Doctor is saying, that security guard is harmless. Scan it, it's not a weapon. And then he drops the flashlight and he just opens his Auton hand. And the way they do that is brilliant, where the cut, every time he fires from the gun, it goes in slightly closer. So it gives that shot like a little bit more of a punch.
A recoil?
No, not recoil, but the camera zooms in
camera.
like this.
Okay.
They've really learned filmmaking-wise how to make some of the cheesier stuff look more legitimate. Because, when the hand opens with the gun like that,
cheesy.
it looks stupid. It looks better than it did in the original episode because of the texture on the hand and
Right.
stuff. But it looks dumb. So to do something like that. And then later on, too, Rory does a really cool
Yes.
cop move.
I was
where he's,
gonna-
ducking behind a corner with his gun. But his silly fingers are like hanging off. But
Yeah.
the way they shot it, he's in silhouette. It's like...
Well, he's also committed to that.
Yeah, and I it was the last episode I was talking about, and this one, how everything's shot great. Like they really are nailing how to make this show feel great and all the silliness that someone may scoff at, making it feel legitimate.
In this scene, I do like that he asked Amelia how she knows to be here, and she shows him the pamphlet with his writing.
And
He
the
doesn't just
Post-it,
take
and the
that
Post-it.
pamphlet and go, "Oh, I got to bring this pamphlet back."
'Cause it right
no,
then.
he goes in, he gets a pen and another pamphlet and writes it out. So that then becomes it. So that's
So if
that
he-
kind of the time travel I like.
But if he just took it from her hand
And then brought it back
when
there.
did it ever become?
That's a paradox.
Yeah.
You see, and that's what is more with the sonic screwdriver. How did the Doctor get out of there? Because he had to give it to Rory, but Rory needed to open it first. So it's that type of. If he would have just taken the note that he
And
but
put it
this
back,
he actually
yeah.
right. So he actually had been I'll go get a new one and write it out so that it's continual in that timeline.
And I like the handwriting bit because it reminded me of Total Recall when Quaid goes to the hotel and then this note pops in and he writes it again and goes, "Oh, that is my handwriting. I should trust it."
Yeah, well, that's what I like about this episode is it does an example of the paradox, and then it does an example of the non-paradox thing. It's
The effect versus cause.
Predestination.
Pandorica plethora.
Predestination paradox. That's what it's called,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Predestination, Pandorica, plethora.
Yeah, there you go. Something like that.
So the Doctor's dead in this. He's already
He,
died in
he,
the
he
fucking
falls down.
Or most.
No, I like that Amy is the one who asked if the Doctor is dead. And the Doctor says, what? Oh, yes, because he doesn't bring it up.
Right.
I like that. He's just going along with what Amy decided to say.
Oh,
It's like,
this is when the Doctor dies in front of the Doctor.
right, the idea that the Doctor lies. He's just going along with what Amy started. Yeah, because that's not important. He has something else to do.
And is this the first instance of us hearing the Doctor lies?
Yes.
With River?
With
River,
Rivers.
yeah.
Yeah, the way River describes it.
I thought we heard that before, but maybe
Not
like
so-
this.
Also, we've got the Doctor crossing his time stream, and there's no Reapers involved.
Right.
So there's another example of time travel.
The Reapers were only in that one episode.
I know, but
I
it's
wish they
like
would have
they're
brought
crossing
it back.
their time streams.
Wasn't that more about changing a fixed point in time than crossing their time streams?
Yeah, that's true.
That reminds me of at the beginning of the episode, the Doctor has the two Sonics and they spark. When Amelia meets Amy, Oliver's like, "Where's the spark?"
Yeah.
She
I
like
thought that too.
grabs her
Well,
hand.
also,
Explain
the,
that.
also, the Doctor touches himself.
Yeah.
I think
Also,
they think that's
wait.
explained.
Also, the Doctor
Well, I just
also,
figured
I'm
that
trying to figure out
was-
a safe way to say this. Also, the Doctor braces his shoulder when he himself is on the ground dying.
Right. Because Rose could not touch baby Rose.
But it could be because they already set things in motion in Father's Day. That's the episode we're talking about, where things are already going wrong. And here, it's not gone wrong yet because of the crack and because of the paradoxical nature.
Well, or here,
The
everything
crack
has gone
erased
so
the
wrong.
Reapers. That's it. The
nothing
crack
There it
just
is.
erased them completely.
Yeah, like there's nothing else left. Like they are all that's left, so there is no other consequences. The world, the whole
Yeah,
universe is
Amy doesn't
already
know about the
annihilated.
Reapers.
I don't know about the Reapers. What?
Remember in Father's Day, the Reaper aliens?
I
that were-
haven't. I've only ever watched that once.
Oh.
It was a long time ago.
Also, when the doctor dies and Amy's standing there, she does say time can be rewritten. So it's like going along with the whole theme for this season.
That's why I kept expecting by the end of the episode for time to have been rewritten, but they brought it back around, and I really like how they did it.
And I think the first time we heard time can be rewritten is in Flesh and Stone.
Amy, Rory, and the doctor head to the roof. There are no stars, our sun included, but there is light in the sky. It's the exploding TARDIS. The doctor scans the explosion and hears River caught in a time loop on the TARDIS. He pops over and they return to the roof. The Dalek tracks them and they run. The Dalek was restored by the light of the Pandorica because it contains the last parts of how the universe used to be. Those pre-explosion atoms remember and can be used to bring the universe back. If the Pandorica can get to the TARDIS and emit that light along with the explosion, another Big Bang will happen. The Dalek arrives and shoots the Doctor, wounding him. He uses the manipulator to pop 12 minutes into the past. River fires point blank at the Dalek.
So the doctor shows up on the roof with the fez, and then River is just all serious and business and goes, "And what is that you're wearing on your head?"
And we saw where he got the fez from was one of the museum exhibits earlier
yes.
on, which I forgot about. That's where he got it from.
Fezzes are cool. I wear fezzes now. And Toby Haynes, as a kid, the director of this episode, liked fezzes, so for him to do that was great.
Oh, that's the only reason they
It's
initiated
not
it?
one of the reasons. Maybe it's one of the reasons, but he just found it,
Right.
I guess, coincidental.
That's great.
I did love the timing of that, going from the comic moment to the Dalek arriving. So they're having all that fun, and then boom, run.
And then Matt Smith picking up the satellite dish to block.
Yeah.
That was improv.
Really?
Yeah.
Trust the plastic.
Yeah, that was a good line.
So River shows back up, and I forgot that the vortex manipulator that the doctor has been using is the one that she acquired from the blue monk in the Pandorica opens.
Dorium.
And so when we were rewatching this, I believe I was texting with Brian, like, where did the doctor get the vortex manipulator? Because you didn't see it in the Pandorica opens. You don't even see it when River gets it from the blue monk. But we explained it away that it's in her satchel. And at one point, Brian thought it was the strap on her gloves, like the Velcro strap.
Yeah, because River's wearing gloves and they seal by Velcro straps, and so just in everything, she's moving around real quick and holding the gun and doing this kind of thing. I'm just seeing a strap that's Velcro out of the corner of my eye. I always thought that was the vortex manipulator, so I kept saying to him, "They made continuity errors. It's the vortex manipulator." And then watching it,
Looking specifically for the vortex
it's like,
manipulator.
"Oh, those are her gloves. She's got gloves with Velcro. I didn't even realize." So.
And then she leaves the satchel at the Pandorica when she goes back to go get the Romans, I believe, when she gets found out. And then when in this second episode, the Big Bang, when Rory frees the doctor is kind of figuring things out with the Pandorica, and all her stuff in the satchel is kind of splayed out. And so you see the vortex manipulator right there.
Yeah, the vortex manipulator is actually just sitting on the base of the Pandorica. But when he gets it in this episode, he pulls it out of the satchel. So it's a little bit of a continuity error.
The doctor's explaining to them about the TARDIS blowing up and creating the cracks, and something's blowing up the TARDIS. And Amy asks, "How could the TARDIS do that?" And the doctor says, "That's a question for another day." Did not realize how important that was in the whole season overview, because that is an answer for next season. So literally he was saying, yeah, that's still going to be a question of what happened to the TARDIS, and we're going to answer that another time.
Well, he even says something made it. Something was doing that. Something brought it here to blow it up.
And that's with having the whole cracks we thought would end and find the answer to it this season. And this is, I finally heard this and going, oh, so he's telling us right now, yeah, that's for a question for another day.
Right.
We are going to answer that totally different. That's not what we're going to do now. So I kind of like that, because I was so upset that they didn't finish off the season completely, that they left that to go on for another. It's supposed to be at least a season arc. This is going to be a whole another season.
And really not even then.
That is whack.
The crack.
And I liked how the Dalek helped the Doctor figure out what's going on. Being restored.
light.
It's like, how can the Dalek come back? He was gone, out of there, nothing. It's like, oh, it's the light from Pandorica's getting the Dalek. So I like that the Daleks helped the Doctor without even knowing it, but they gave him
Right.
the answers to what's going on. And I also liked how River figured out what the Doctor's doing. So I like that they make River that intelligent, that she's still going, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Checking out when he has it all hooked up, and then going, oh, I get it now. Let me help what I can do.
I also love the scene when the Dalek's like, records say you're the companion of the Doctor. You're going to show mercy. And she's like, really? Say it again. Try it one more
Have
time.
River song.
And it's,
Look it up.
and look up River song.
And she turns up the settings on her gun.
Yeah, yeah, and then we don't see it. We don't need to see it because I think it's a lot more effective when she comes around. Well, we haven't said it, but when Rory and Amy find that the body of the Doctor is gone, and River shows up and is just kind of like, oh yeah, okay, it's gone. Well, who said he was dead? The Doctor. Well, rule one, the Doctor lies, and she's so matter of fact about it. And then it's like, what happened to the Dalek? It died.
I also
love that. I love River song.
I also like in that exchange, the camera gets slightly more Dutched as it goes from exchange to Dalek to River, Dalek to River. It just keeps going. They rush downstairs, but the body of the Doctor is gone. They go to the Pandorica and find him inside. He lied about his death to cause a distraction. This gave him time to wire the vortex manipulator into the box, allowing it to fly into the explosion. If it works, everything will go back to normal, but he will be trapped in the space between worlds. While saying goodbye, he says to Amy that he couldn't stop himself from helping her. He tells her that she had parents, but they were taken by the crack in the wall. She doesn't want to forget anything anymore, and he reminds her that nothing is ever really forgotten. She must remember her family, so they will return after the universe resets. He launches the Pandorica towards the explosion. Geronimo!
I'm still a little lost on that little bit before he goes, the Pandorica closes and he says, gotcha.
That was a playback to The Beast Below. Amy and the Doctor both say gotcha to each other at certain points of that episode. It's just a tiny little callback to that, that's all.
Oh, okay, so he wasn't fibbing to her in that moment?
It depends on what happened in Beast Below. I don't remember the specific circumstances. He could be. I love how, and I've talked about this so much, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast in the recording or not, but I love that we now find out that the Pandorica holds the answer to rebooting the universe, making the universe back the way it was, because the Pandorica holds the literal memory of the original universe. And it's using that memory, the pre-explosion atoms, it's using those to reboot the universe, which is very similar to the theme of the season with Amy's memory. It's so important for you to remember things. It's so important for you to remember. You need to remember. And to me, it just kind of like ties the theme of the season really well.
Well, and this is the exact words that he says, or is it where nothing's ever really gone if you remember it? It's like no one's ever really gone if you remember them.
Don't furrow your brow at me. That's what happened.
No, but I mean, the way you said it now was that the light in the universe, that's the same as the hope. I didn't get that connection.
You said that.
No, but the way you were saying it just now.
Okay.
So that's like, now I get the connection that you're making. It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
without the Pandorica being open, they couldn't have rebooted the universe. Without Pandora's box being open, there would be no hope in the world.
Right.
Where did the Pandorica come from?
The Cybermen, Daleks, Sontaran Alliance built it to hold the Doctor. So they built it so that the Doctor could open it from the outside, and then they trapped him inside it. And then that cost them all their existence.
But yeah, how does he know this? Where is he? Where did this legend come from of the Pandorica?
Because they've been working on it a really long time, and this is 102 AD. So by the time 5145 comes around, there could be this legend of the Pandorica. Or it's a timey-wimey invented thing. Why it's connected to the psychic link of Amy's house to Amy. It could be that. I just kind of think it's like, yeah, they built it in 102 AD and people talked about it after that.
Yeah, so when he's been zipping around Earth's universe and timeline since then, between now and then, Pandorica has always been this thing. In
Sitting under
museums,
Stonehenge.
they don't really know what it is. It supposedly is this. So it's been like it's like Stonehenge. He knows about that like he knows about Stonehenge.
I just don't think about it too hard, I guess, is what I need to
Well, they needed to trap the Doctor. That's what got in Pandorica Opens. So they used one of his companions. It could have been Joe Grant. It could have been anybody. They chose Amy and then they went back to 102, which is where Romans would be, because that's one thing that Amy likes, and that would bring the Doctor. I mean, it's the same thing as Prisoner Zero. At the very beginning, they know about the legend.
And
Pandorica will open and silence will fall. That's just something that was set out there to entice the Doctor. So they had to start this whole kind of rumor.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
things
just got that.
So that it's around. And so it's like, oh, the Doctor's now getting intrigued by everybody. And they're all saying it because everybody wants the Doctor trapped.
Yeah.
So they're just spreading this
They're spreading
story throughout
breadcrumbs.
the universe.
They're spreading
that wasn't-
breadcrumbs so that when he finally does get to the Pandorica, he's really intrigued and he's going to be
Right.
distracted.
So when Prisoner Zero said that, it wasn't like a prediction, it was bait.
No, I
Could
think
have
that
been.
was
I think it's a prediction, but it could have been taken either way.
So when Prisoner Zero said the Pandorica will open, was the Doctor like, oh, the Pandorica? I've grown up hearing about this legend. Or
No,
was
he was
that
too
the
busy
first
doing
time-
some other stuff.
Or was that the first time he heard about the Pandorica? So when he's talking about it in the episode, oh, there's this legend of the Pandorica, it's because he's been getting these breadcrumbs this season?
Maybe.
See
well,
these
yeah.
are my questions. That
Well, I
I'm
think
like,
they
then-
leave
wait
that
a
stuff
minute.
open-ended
Answer
so
them.
it can, yeah.
Make it up. Like, I mean,
It could be a
because
number
I
of
have no
things.
problems with it. It's like this legend grew out of either the Cybermen spread the rumor, the Daleks spread the rumor, the Centaurans
I mean,
did.
the thing is-
Somebody spread the rumor throughout time and space. So just so that when the events took place, the Doctor would be so intrigued he'd get careless.
And I don't think that the Doctor, it's not a favorite story of his. It's not a favorite memory of his. The Pandorica means nothing to him. He's like,
I've heard legends all over my
what do you mean
entire
when the,
life.
you know,
Big
for
deal.
us, what do you mean when the pyramid opens? Okay, I know about pyramids. What does that have to do with anything? So I think it's not anything important to the Doctor, but it's being seeded throughout time and space, and it's becoming more and more going, wait a minute, what is this? Intriguing him.
It'd be interesting to go back and watch that episode and kind of see how the Doctor reacts to that when she says it to him. Plus, I think they leave it a little open-ended so they can later on recon it writing-wise. Like, if they answer too many of their questions early, then they're stuck with them. Then they're stuck with those answers.
Going back to the episode, I'm surprised Amy doesn't know her parents. I mean, she knows she has them because pretty much everybody does, you know. So it's kind of like, you know, Galinda.
But then she
We all
starts
have
to
a
know
mother.
them.
Like she remembers her mother making the apples, the smiley face with the apple.
In the 11th hour, yeah.
I'm just wondering, is that true, or did Aunt Sharon just make that up to tell her story about her parents?
Back to that scene with the dying Doctor telling Amy goodbye. I like how River is understanding of why he would ask for Amy and not her, knowing River's, I guess,
Such a good
future.
scene.
It's great. And then the camera gets slowly Dutched on that one as well.
Yeah, he doesn't
I
really
thought that-
know me yet.
But I thought he would have talked to River. River would have had her conversation with him. But then he wants to speak to you.
But he didn't.
But he didn't. That's not how it's played out.
It's an awesome moment. No.
And then further on to things that I like is when the Doctor flies the Pandorica into TARDIS exploding. Matt Smith looks at the camera and it's almost like, I'm the Doctor. I'm gonna fix this world. And then it's playing his theme song, and I love that.
The Doctor awakes on the TARDIS and sees Amy and himself from a week earlier, but they cannot see him, although Amy might have heard him. He's traveling backward in time as he's being erased. He sees Amy at Craig's house, and then is in the forest on the crashed Byzantium. He sees Amy, who has her eyes closed to prevent her from turning into a weeping angel. He tells her to trust him and remember what he told her when she was 7 years old. He places his head against hers and tells her she has to remember. She must remember. He kisses her on the forehead and leaves. He then rewinds to when she was 7 and finds Amelia asleep outside waiting for him. He puts her to bed and while she sleeps, tells her that he'll just now be a story in her head. The story of the silly old Doctor, a man who borrowed a unique blue box. Big and little at the same time, brand new and anciently old. He kisses her on the forehead again and tells her to live well and love Rory. Skipping the rest of the repeats, he steps closer to the light emitting from the crack in Amy's wall. Outside her window, the stars are back.
It's a great speech he gives to her. It's really, really heartfelt. And I like how it ends with, we're all just stories in the end.
Yeah, isn't that?
That's so...
Doesn't that-
It just reminded me of the Elseworld comics from DC. This is an imaginative story, aren't they all?
Yeah.
in this at the beginning when Amelia's praying to Santa, she's hearing the voices from the crack. So she's hearing the voices even then. And depending, I'm thinking on how big the crack is or how close it is to closing, is how much Amy can understand. Because right when the crack is closing with Space Florida, when we're talking about that, it's right near the end of the crack. So she can kind of hear something. She looks like she's hearing something. But the doctor then fully materializes into touching her and stuff when he's sitting in the forest and back with Amelia to be able to carry her to bed.
I have a question about that too. When Space Florida, Amy looks like, oh, I thought I heard something, but she's obviously not seeing the doctor. When she's outside Craig's house and she's petting the cat, he says something and she turns, looks, so she can hear things. And again, can't see the doctor. So on the Forest of the Byzantium, if she opened her eyes, would she see him? And there's a part of me who thinks, no.
See, I thought the reason they had the whole thing she had to close her eyes was that she wouldn't see both doctors. Because they reshot that little bit or added a little scene in of the doctor looking at himself when he's trying to figure it out. So I thought she couldn't see that there's two doctors because the timeline would have been changed.
Yeah,
So I think
you're
that's why
looking
they
at
had to
it
write
from
it.
a script point of
Script
view, and
point,
I'm
right.
looking at it from a fun story point of view, where it's like, you wouldn't think of that, but she can't see him any other place.
But he pulled part of the TARDIS out in cold blood. So
He's touching her.
So he is touching, so I think she would be able to see him.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
Well, I'm sorry, but yeah.
I don't think so, because it's just fun.
I think it works on both levels.
And it's funny you call it Space Florida because I'm like, did they eventually go to Rio? They finally made it to Rio? That's what they wore?
No, they called it Space Florida.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, that would have been great if they're like, we
Yes.
finally made it to Rio.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like that we mentioned that scene in Time of Angels, and then now it comes back to why there's that continuity error, quotes, unquote, because it's a different doctor.
One thing I did not like about the season the first time I saw it was that Moffat was saying, this girl is special, like at the beginning, 11th hour. Why is she special? Rather than the Russell seasons where the doctor would bring out your qualities and your best part of yourself so you become better. So in this, it changed because it's because of the crack. And if Rory was living in the house, it would have been Rory. So she isn't special. She just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
She's special in the way of a worthy companion, like others aren't, like Adam.
Right.
But yes, to your point.
No, it just made it that the doctor can still bring out the good aspects of her. You know, it's not just inherent.
So it's like Harry Potter, where Harry Potter is only the chosen one because Voldemort made him the chosen one. Could have just been as well been Neville. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
Because Harry's not the best, wizard.
No.
It's just so that I do like.
Yeah.
Amelia's
Spoilers.
plus.
But what you're saying about Amy being special or not special, I think the line he says is, Amy Pond, the girl who didn't make sense. How could I resist?
Right.
I am really creeped out by the whole notion of little Amelia in that house alone with that weird crap going on. It's so creepy to me, and how her mind is being bent and twisted into thinking things that aren't there, and she's just existing in that. It's I love it, but it's so creepy and weird to me.
Well, that's why she became a kissogram.
Yeah, that's
So-
right.
And I remember looking at this when we were doing the whole Flesh and Stone two-parter and trying to figure out what the doctor told her when she was 7. And then when I looked at it, just that scene, the end that we just talked about, the doctor telling her to love Rory seemed, a subliminal message, which I didn't like, because then that wasn't her own choice to love him. I didn't like that. Watching the whole season again and seeing the last 2 episodes and seeing his respect for Rory grow, it was more, to me, a respectful, just love him. He's good, It was just a supportive thing, not a subliminal, oh, you got to do this to keep the timeline kind of feeling. It was really sweet, and it's like, just love Rory, he's great, kind of attitude. So I liked that a lot watching it this time.
I just live well, love Rory. What a great line.
Amy wakes up on her wedding day and is thrilled when her mother comes in with breakfast. Then Amy gives her tiny little dad a huge hug. Both her parents are surprised at her actions as she is herself. But she is so ecstatically happy. At the reception, Amy sees River outside the window, which brings tears of sadness. Rory hands her the TARDIS journal that River left them, which sparks her memory of something old, something new, something borrowed, and something definitely blue. She now remembers the doctor and shouts for him to appear because he is late for her wedding. The wind blows inside the hall as the TARDIS materializes. The Doctor steps out in top hat and tails, ready to dance because the Doctor dances.
Like a drunken giraffe.
To Queen.
Yeah. I love that it's Queen.
I know.
That's great.
I like that her parents called her Amelia.
Yeah.
Rory's the only one who called her Amy. So she still kept Amy at some point in all this. But of course the family, no, you're Amelia.
Did you see the little girl with the red balloon at the reception?
No.
Yeah, there's a little girl with being chased across the reception floor, and she's carrying a red balloon. It's very family of blood, human nature.
And her dad's name is Augustus Pond.
My tiny little dad.
And Tabitha, her mom.
I like that the diary is blank. So not every, we're still working on things getting completely fixed. Come on, fix it.
I want to know how much River remembers. It just has that slide, she's just walking by, but it's like, okay, wait a minute. I know we don't need to know. Everything is fine, but I want to go outside, talk to River. What do you know? What happened? How much do you remember?
Okay, so this part sort of bugs me. Is that now everything's restored. Amy is married to Rory, and as soon as the Doctor comes out,
Yeah.
she wants to kiss him.
Yeah.
In front of Rory, in front of her parents.
Totally agree.
Disagree.
Very odd.
And she mentions a snog once they get in the TARDIS
yes,
as well.
that too. That bugged me as well.
It makes me think of that whole thing that we discussed in that other episode. How Moffat regrets writing it that way. I wonder if this was part of that as well.
But coming out of the TARDIS to kiss him, it's like she just remembered and brought them all back. So that I think
could
is more
see the
emotional.
overwhelming emotional bit of
And
it.
it
but
wasn't.
It wasn't until that second instance,
Yes,
when
and
she
that's
mentions
why-
getting a snog, that it's just like
Yeah,
It's,
but I'm just talking about the first one, and then him holding her lips and going, "No, that's only for Rory." I
Yeah,
like
it's great.
that scene.
And then-
I didn't feel that she was trying to jump his bones like in the other episode. It was just
If they didn't
to see
have
the Doctor.
if they didn't have the second scene inside the TARDIS, I would
Right.
agree with you.
Yeah.
But then seeing that second scene makes me think that the first scene is what I'm saying.
Right.
And it's also played for laughs because then the Doctor says the Ponds or Rory Pond.
Right.
And he's like, no, Rory Williams. No, Pond.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. I love Rory when he gets his memory back, where he's like, "It's the Doctor. How could we forget the Doctor? I was plastic. he was a stripper at my stag party."
That was
I love
an
that.
it was
And
like, that's an interesting night, so I'll tell you later.
Yeah, and I love the whole thing where the Doctor, Amy's like, "Did I surprise you? Did I surprise you?" Yes, absolutely. I just happened to be wearing this tux, and then he's doing this out in front of all these people. He doesn't care who sees him. He's like, "I'm back. Everything's been rebooted. Let's party," and it's great. And then when he just watches them slow dance, and he's just so happy with Rory, and he's just like, "Good on you, mate." So the whole thing is so good.
But it was interesting to see how Arthur played Rory, because he was meek Rory at the beginning. And then even when she's sad and she doesn't know why she's sad, well, you just married me. No, that's not it. And he's taking it so personally, and going, does she love me? That whole doubt.
He doesn't remember he was the Centurion.
And then when he comes back and remembers, it's like, oh, good, Rory's back. We don't
Yeah.
have to do a whole
Yeah.
Donna not remembering anything
Right,
and
right.
go reverting back to who she was.
No,
It's like,
nope,
no.
sorry, we already did that.
So he comes back. It's like, okay, good. So his whole growth did happen.
But it means he remembers 2,000 years of being plastic. Oh.
You would
But
love
he's
that.
not
You would love 2,000 years
plastic,
living
right?
history.
He's
No,
not
he is.
plastic anymore.
Yeah, but I'd have to stay out of
He is
trouble.
plastic?
He still is.
No.
No.
No?
No.
He's got
Just the
rebooted.
reset.
Everything's rebooted.
So he's human again.
Because the cracks never existed now,
Yeah.
right?
All right.
What moment did it reboot? When?
When he flew to Pandora.
When
Right,
the
right,
doctor
that-
disappeared on Amy's bedside when she was 7, he goes, I'm going to stop the whole
Yeah.
going back and visiting other things.
Because the stars came back,
He went through the crack, and that's when everything came back to where it should be.
including Rory
Except
being
the
flesh and
doctor's
blood.
now the only thing
So
that's been
technically,
forgotten.
Rory never became plastic.
Correct.
But because he's a time traveler now, he remembers it.
And because the doctor's back. So
And
he remembers
right,
everything that's associated with
the
that.
force of
Right.
Amy's memory.
Okay. So at the beginning of this episode that we're recording right now, that's what I was confused about.
Right.
Yeah.
And
No,
because
I
we'll
was
get to
there
it at
with
the
you.
end.
Yeah.
Because when Rory is plastic, the doctor says you can't heal, so stay out of trouble.
Right.
Don't get too near fire. Rory growing up in Ledworth doesn't have that problem, so he's not plastic. He's still a person.
Right. Well, you explaining to me just now that it rebooted when Amy was a child fixes my
Okay.
brain.
Check.
I did like that Amy was looking around and seeing the bow tie and suspenders.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah.
It was appropriate to have those at a wedding, so it wasn't out of
Right,
place. Somebody
right.
else wearing, those things.
Oh, and come on, the something borrowed, something new, something.
Oh, when she
Was perfect.
that's
something
when
old,
I got
something new, something borrowed, something blue. It was really one of those like Stephen Moffat impressive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very, very impressive.
I got real choked up.
You know,
Even
and then it's like go back and watch him talking about the TARDIS. You know,
And it doesn't sound like he's saying the wedding.
no, he's not. They hit it so well. He's yeah, I stole it. Well, I meant to take it back. I borrowed it.
And I think they wrote this line.
Oh, I'm just getting. I was just thinking of it as the blue part. It's
No, it's all-
everything.
Yeah, it's ancient.
It's
I just got chills right
It's
now.
what-
Yeah, isn't it great?
You have
It's
it? I
what
have
he
it.
told her when she was 7
Right.
that she needed to remember.
Right. I just got that it was all of those things.
So
in
here's
the
here,
poem.
here's that quote. Oh, that box, Amy. You'll dream about that box. It'll never leave you. Big and little at the same time. Brand new and ancient, and the bluest blue ever.
And then he also did say, "Did I tell you I stole it?" Well, I borrowed it. I meant to take it back. And I don't know if this is intentional, but River giving the journal
Right.
that's blank on the table leads Rory to say, like Amy's going, "What is this? What is this? What is this?" She knows something's weird about it. So what is this? And Rory just sees it as blue. So it's like, the wedding thing. And so it's like that whole thing is a catalyst, prompting her memory of the something blue.
right.
You are late for my wedding.
Yeah, that blank journal reminded me of Back to the Future, the facts.
Yeah.
Doc, it's blank. What does it mean? Each time's not written. It's what you make it.
And I think this was a line written for you and maybe Russell, but Amy's talking to the doctor at the wedding before he materializes and says, I found you in words.
Oh, yeah. It's his weapons. Later, the doctor leaves the reception and meets River in Amy's backyard. He gives her back her journal and the vortex manipulator. The doctor asks who she truly is, and she tells him that he will find out soon. And when he does, she is sorry because that's when everything changes. She transports out. Amy and Rory enter the TARDIS. The doctor tells them that something took control of the TARDIS to destroy it, and he needs to find out who or what was behind it, so it's time for him to leave. Amy and Rory agree, and Amy steps out of the TARDIS and shouts goodbye at their wedding guests. Together, the three of them head off to new adventures. Because you don't see Rory waving, which I'm a little disappointed at, but, Rory doesn't wave.
It's her day. She gets to say
Our
goodbye.
wedding
to
too.
Our day.
Rory says it, our wedding.
No.
So we mentioned that we don't find out why the TARDIS blew up until much later. Here we get the mummy on the Orient Express, and we don't
Right.
get that until another doctor.
It's also
Yeah.
not exactly the mummy on the Orient Express.
I know, but that's the first time it's mentioned. And it's funny, listening to the commentary, they talk about the mummy on the Orient Express adventure as if it's the Christmas special. So I think they had other plans for that story, and then it got shoved till the next doctor.
Really? That's
Yeah.
interesting.
This has one of those great Moffat writings that I love, where he answers a previous question, and so you don't know what he's really answering. And the doctor's asking River, "Are you married?" And
Yes.
she asks,
Oh,
"Are you asking?" He goes, "Yes,
Yes.
yes." Well, wait, a minute, are you answering that yes, you're married, or do you think I'm asking you to marry you?
Yes.
Yes. What a great interchange! I love that.
In this episode, The Big Bang, we get several of Matt Smith's catchphrases. We get Geronimo and Fezzes are cool. And according to showrunner and executive producer Stephen Moffat, he says that the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi, won't have any catchphrases, and that Matt Smith only had one because he kept ad-libbing it into episodes. So those things like bow ties are cool, Geronimo and fezzes are cool. I wear fezzes now, I guess. They were all Matt Smith. They weren't written by Stephen Moffat. So he didn't want to write catchphrases. One final thought that I thought would have made a nice bookend between the 11th hour and the Big Bang was Prisoner Zero being the Doctor and not an actual alien prisoner, because the prisoner in the Pandorica is the Doctor, intended for the Doctor. And so I kept thinking, because that just would have made more sense to me. So, the Big Bang, does it live up to the promises in the first half?
Just to refresh everyone's memory, Pandorica opens. Everybody said that it was just for a fan, except Kelsey, who was glad that the people got paid for doing this work.
Happy people got a paycheck.
Yes, but a diehard.
Yeah, I think it exceeds the first episode.
Yes.
Yes, for sure, and then some.
We get more of Rory. So, and I think we all can live well and love Rory. So, yes, it lives up.
I say yes, and I think it's better the more you watch it.
I say yes, I like this better than the Pandorica opens. The director, Toby Haynes, he added at the end of the closing credits, it's just usually the time tunnel and the vortex. He added that the TARDIS is spinning and to clue us in that these three will continue on with their adventures. So I like that end credit sequence is different from any of the other end credit sequences.
And no coming soon.
Oh,
There's
right.
no preview.
Were they ever on a series finale?
They will return in the Christmas special or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is the Christmas special after this?
Christmas Carol. So that wraps up The Big Bang. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time where the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
All our episodes are engineered by Allburn.
You can find him at albertbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to help support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, enable the AnyPod podcast skill. Ask AnyPod to play the Who Knew podcast.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival, spearheaded by Russell T. Davis,
Thanks to Russell.
Sydney Newman.
Verity Lambert.
Ron Grainer.
Delia Derbyshire.
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
But then, that sounds fun. The imagination.
Maybe
of
the music was playing Maurice Day in the Times Jungle Love. Remember that song in the beginning with the animals? No?
We're just leaving it as a clear exit so that he can edit it.
Do we have sound of crickets?
We do.
Okay.
They're right here, right now.
Are we gonna do the after the end of the episode? Let's discuss River,
So buckle up, sweeties.
because we're gonna take a trip just around the river bend. This is a trip just around the river bend where we're going to discuss this episode in River Song's timeline. So if you haven't watched episodes past this episode, stop now. If you don't want to be spoiled, but major spoilers ahead. So it's interesting because at this point, River says to the doctor, "The Roman centurion?" And she doesn't act, and she's acting really well if she's acting, that's Rory, who's her father, that she knows is her father. But I kind of came up with two rationalizations. First one is Rory fell through the crack and was eliminated from the universe, so Rory fell out of River's memory too. So River doesn't remember Rory. That's the one that I like. And I also thought she knows that this centurion's an Auton. So it's like, okay, that may look like Rory, but it's not Rory, so what is it? So what it's like, so when she's kind of saying, like, she doesn't say to the doctor, wait, that's Rory. She's saying, and that Roman centurion is what? So,
I think.
and it's a retcon because, of course, I don't think they knew anything at that point.
Oh, about River's origin?
Yeah, about
Yeah.
River, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like your first explanation.
Yeah, that he just fell out of
Right.
River's mind because she wasn't involved. She wasn't there. She wouldn't have had the need or the impetus to remember Rory like Amy tried to do and yet still failed.
I third that.
Yeah, because Alex Kingston's, the way I read it is that she doesn't recognize who that is.
Yeah, she doesn't know who it is.
Yeah.
So, I and it was kind of like, I really want her to know them. And it's like, okay, that's how I justify it.
Because I mentioned that in the last episode also. The Pandorica opens. That hurt me going, oh, she doesn't know who he is.
Also,
Did I say that he fell out of the...
No, but
Okay.
at the time when she sees him, she doesn't recognize who that is.
Well, that all makes sense too with that because later on in this episode, when we open up her TARDIS book, it's empty.
Right.
Then it starts to come back by the end. So things are. That backs up what you're saying.
River's remembering things currently because she's an anomaly at the eye of the storm.
Right.
But this happened a while ago,
Right.
and River wasn't even there. So when the entire universe got rid of Rory, except for Amy for a brief moment, and the doctor, River, just lost her memory. She is, in this timeline, it is before the Byzantium.
Right, but she's already shot him
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
in her
That's
timeline.
right.
Yeah, because one of the first things she does in her timeline is shoot him. And that's how she says, you're going to find out soon, and that's when everything changes.
Okay.
You know? Because the hints do start coming that she's in prison for killing a good man, a very good man.